When you're ready, or Mr. DeMille? Right after roll call.
Okay.
I didn't tell him that, though. Should I tell him that? That it's right after roll call?
Yes. Yeah. Wait, should we wait then? Yes, yes. This isn't 6 feet. He's just sitting in front of the sign, man. You know, should have put it a little.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Good evening. This is the work session for Northfield City Council. December 14th of 2021. This meeting was properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, in the Press of Atlantic City on January 9th of this year. Based on CDC guidelines related to COVID-19, the City of Northfield has suggested that everyone 2 years of age or older who is not fully vaccinated should wear a mask in indoor public spaces, and visitors are made aware of this decision with signs at the entrances to the building. To ensure the safety and health of our employees and visitors, we are also continuing to adhere to social distancing requirements in our indoor public spaces, and as a result, there are limited seats for in-person attendance by members of the public this evening. In order to ensure that the public may fully participate despite the limited in-person capacity, this meeting is also being presented simultaneously as a remote public meeting live-streamed using Zoom conferencing service. Zoom meeting participants can dial in by telephone and listen to the proceedings, or they can access the meeting using a web browser and be able to view and listen. Instructions on how members of the public could reserve one of the limited seats, as well as how they can access Zoom, have been made available on the municipal website and were published in the Press of Atlantic City. The full text of the meeting notice has been posted at the entrances to the municipal building and includes Zoom instructions, information on where to find the meeting agenda and relevant documents, as well as instructions on how members of the public could submit comments in advance of tonight's meeting. For those participating via Zoom, all participants will be muted upon entry to the meeting. Web browser participants will not be able to share their screens or see the camera view of anyone other than the host, which is the City of Northfield. Zoom participants wishing to exercise their right to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting should wait until the specific announcement is made to open the public comment period. At this time, one by one, any telephone users will be asked to identify themselves and will be unmuted to permit commentary. For web browser participants, comments or questions may be submitted via the chat function, but will not be acknowledged outside of the designated public comment portion of the meeting. Chat users must also provide his or her name and address for the record in order to be heard. Any written questions submitted in advance would be read aloud and addressed during the public comment portion of the meeting. And for this evening's meeting, there were none. May I have a flag salute led by Mayor Chow, please?
Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Roll call. Mr. Deweese?
Here.
Mrs. Madden? Here. Mr. Notaro?
Here.
Mr. Perry? Here. Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Utz?
Here.
Mr. Palestina?
Here.
And Mr. Chow.
Here.
Mr. President?
Thank you, Mary. Mr. Chow?
Thank you, Council President. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I have the honor and privilege to present several proclamations and an award to two individuals who I've served on City Council and who I've had the honor to serve on City Council. Let me just say this about these members, all of us, that regardless of your party or your affiliations or your philosophy, I know that everyone sitting here on this dais is seeking to not only improve Northfield, but also represent their constituents. You know, I've learned from day one when I first became a council person that you can't please everyone. You know, I guess that's the reason why some people like chocolate ice cream and some people like vanilla ice cream. But regardless, I know that myself, as well as everyone here tonight, does the best that they can to represent their people, as I said, and that their heart is in the city of Northfield. So without further ado, I would like to make the following presentations. The first one is being presented to Barbara Ann Madden, Northfield City Council woman for the 2nd Ward, 2019 and 2021. Barbara, thank you so very much for your services. I've enjoyed working with you, and I know, between you and I, we know this is not the end. You're going to be helping me some more. So thank you so very much for your services. I do appreciate that. Thank you. This special award, I'm going to come down here because this person is very special. You know, sometimes in life you don't realize the importance of knowing people and having met them and worked with them and so forth. And who knows, in this group here, that's tonight, that someday somebody here might be the President of the United States. I remember this individual when he was in high school, when I was a teacher at Mainland. And, you know, I never suspect that, you know, nor would I suspect that we would be city council members or city officials. And he's become a very, I would say, tremendous asset to the city of Northfield. And I know from his experience and his portfolio, this is not the end. This is just the beginning, the continuing of the beginning. So Frank, come on down here. And you know, I have to say this all the time because this is a unique situation. Now, Frank has never missed a city council meeting in all his entire career, and that is unbelievable. So I'd like to read this proclamation that is being given to you. And whereas Frank Perry Jr. has devoted 29 years of public service as an elected official to the city of Northfield and its residents, and whereas the governing body of the city of Northfield wishes to recognize him for his remarkable contributions, and whereas among his many accomplishments are elected by the people for 12 years as mayor for the city of Northfield, the second longest mayoral term of office in the city's 116-year history. Elected by the people to serve for 17 years as a member of the Common Council of the city of Northfield. Served 18 years as a member of the city of Northfield Planning Board. Served as city council president and council chairman for the Sewer Interlocal, Public Works Department, Fire Department, Emergency Medical Services, and Insurance and Safety Departments. Perfect attendance at every governing body meeting throughout his long and distinguished 29-year career as a City of Northfield elected official. Founder of the City of Northfield Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. Chairman of the City of Northfield 2005 Centennial Celebration. Chairman of the Memorial Parade during each of the 12 years he was mayor, and past president of the Atlantic County League of the Municipalities. And I'm sure there's plenty more that I can do, but I know we're going to have to get home sometime. So now therefore be it resolved that I, Erlen Chow, Mayor of the City of Northfield, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey, do hereby honor and recognize Frank Perry Jr. for his incredible contributions. Congratulations. Frank, I also want to present to you this beautiful clock from City Council, and it reads, Frank Perry Jr., with sincere appreciation and gratitude for your dedicated services to the City of Northfield and its residents, Mayor from 1996 to 2007, City Council from 1991 to 1995, and 2010 to 2021. Thank you so very much, Frank, for your service and dedication to the city. And I'm sure you'd like to say something. Speak.
Thank you for those kind words, Mayor. The first thing I gotta say is I gotta thank my family for supporting me, and to my surprise, they're here tonight. I never anticipated them coming, but, you have to have a team behind you, they have to support you, and through the years, they sacrificed a lot, and,
Potential
I can
spam.
say thank you, you're here, you're all here, thank you. To the voters, it's been a wonderful experience, and I thank them for all the years that they've given me. It's been rewarding. You just can't imagine, when you're ahead of a $13 million municipal corporation and you've got your operation going. It's amazing what you can learn. I would recommend people get involved and don't shy away from politics. You can learn a lot. You can be involved in a lot. And it's trying, it's hard, but it is amazing what I've learned in the past 29 years being. And like the mayor said, I never thought going through Northfield Public School, mainland regional, that I'd be a councilman or mayor. And I gotta say, there were people behind me that kind of steered me in that direction. And one of them was former Councilman Ben Mazzio and my father, Frank Curry Sr., who's no longer with us. And both of them, but it's been very rewarding. And, I gotta thank the employees, that they were great to work with. Sure we have differences in different contract negotiations and stuff, but the former administrations and employees and staff, I gotta thank them too for all they do. No man's an island, it takes everybody to get this done, and it's an immense responsibility that you all are doing right now, Mayor. I can tell you that it's a wonderful experience, and I don't have any regrets. And once again, I want to thank my family. I know I'm forgetting something or somebody, but thank you very much for those kind words, Mayor.
Why don't you introduce your family members who are here
Absolutely.
tonight?
My wife, Lynn Leander, and my grandson Georgie, my son Frank, my daughter-in-law Michelle, my son-in-law Anthony, my grandson Frankie, and my niece Jason.
Well, welcome very much, and let me just say one thing that, we don't always have city officials with such a tenure of many years, and there's no doubt, and I love history here, there is no doubt, Frank, and I can personally say this as a friend and as a fellow city official, what you have done and what you've accomplished throughout these many years will be permanently engraved in the history and the books of Northfield. You've done so much, Frank.
Well,
So much.
You were a good part of that also, wouldn't you?
Well, I do appreciate it, but like I said, we don't have many city officials that have lasted this long and who would want to stay in this business because it's not a thankful situation, but it's a grateful situation. And it's so much of an honor and special for me to note that what you have done so much. And I'm going to get a picture up there of you. And actually, I have several pictures of you up there. And when I think of it, years from now, when your grandchildren become much older, they can walk through here to City Hall and say, Grandpa was here. And he did a lot, and that's him right up there. So congratulations again, Frank.
Thank you once again, Mayor, for the kind words.
I appreciate you. Thanks. Yeah.
Can we get a picture with?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Come on up.
Come on up, Frank.
Let me not photobomb.
Yeah, I always move too. I don't want to be that little kid.
Are you ready?
Mine's for pizza, right? Pizza cheese.
Can we hurry up and get Frank out of here?
Nice seeing you all, man.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, Mary.
Bye, Perry family, thank you.
Once again, thank you.
Motion to adjourn? Well, as you have the floor, Councilman Perry, would you like to do your committee reports, sir?
No, I'm gonna pass some stuff on to Greg and the solicitor on the, one of those issues, the sump pump stuff that I've got prepared.
Okay.
But I do wanna recognize the passing of Rosemary O'Dowd and Mary Ann Rudisil, two great people, and she's really missed, and they contribute very much to Northfield also.
Yes,
That's all I have.
thank you. Councilman Utz.
Okay, there was a couple things before the planning board this past meeting. One, of course, was the approval of the subdivision for Zion and Mill Road Pump Station. The other is, I don't know if you all recall that some of the residents were complaining about brown water. So the water company has stepped in, and the Wabash and Mill Road, there's currently a wellhead there. They're going to bring in a filtration building. It'll look very much like a residential structure. They're going to take down the barbed wire that's around the fence there now and replace it with a more aesthetically pleasing chain link fence, and hopefully precipitate out the iron and manganese that's causing that brown water. There's no liquid chemicals or anything that could endanger nearby residents. They did a very nice presentation. A couple of old oak trees will have to come down. That's unfortunate, but otherwise it'll probably look a little better than what's there now, and it should take care of the brown water issue. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Otero.
Well, first and foremost, thank you, Barbara, for your past 3 years on council. We do appreciate that. The city appreciates that. Frank, your 29 years is truly amazing, especially perfect attendance. I think the mayor probably could have added a couple more pages to that proclamation and of your accomplishments. So, we'll see you around, I'm sure. From FAN, on Saturday, FAN held a car parade for our 3 championship teams. All 3, Pee Wee, JV, and varsity, had won the championships, and they were all undefeated all season. So it was a pretty big accomplishment for Northfield. The mayor had a proclamation. Thank you very much for that. It was very nice. And, it was a good community event, and I'd like to thank the fire department, the police department, EMS, and OEM for all participating in the parade. Thank you, Chief, for doing that. It was very nice. From EMS, we had 165 calls for service in November, with an average response time of 5.44 minutes. Also, we had, for mutual aid out, we had 12 calls for mutual aid out, so very minimal actually, I'm sorry, I got that backwards. Coming in, we had 12 calls, which is very minimal. Going out to mutual aid, we had 55 calls. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman DeWeese.
I don't have any report this month.
Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to echo the mayor and Councilman Otero in thanking Ms. Madden and Mr. Perry for their service as a history teacher, social studies teacher, and government teacher at Mainland. I stress all the time the need for people to get involved, and it's as we've said many times, it's an awful thankless position, thankless job, and just to have people step up and do that is, a signal to the young as well to, take it seriously and be involved. And Barbara, for your 3 years, Thank you. And Councilman Parry, for all of your years. It's truly amazing, to echo what others have said, 29 years, it's 28, 29 years, it's absolutely fantastic. And, you know, in spite of any differences, the appreciation and the acknowledgement of your services is, I mean, it's tremendous, it's much appreciated. So I commend you on that. I also wanted to echo Councilman Parry's sentiments regarding Rosemary O'Dowd specifically. Ms. O'Dowd was a friend of my parents, of my mother, and she was just an unbelievable asset to the city of Northfield. And her passing, she lived a tremendously long life and contributed so much to Northfield in so many ways, in terms of the historical committee and in terms of all sports. And she was a secretary at Mainland when I first began there. And when my wife was pregnant with our first child, Rosemary O'Dowd came and visited us and brought us meals and took us kind of under her wing, knowing that my mom was no longer around. But you know, my thoughts and prayers go out to the O'Dowd family, and you know, she will be sorely missed. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Madden.
Just have library and mainland. The library stats for November were, attendance 326, materials in circulation 955, ebook circulation 36, audiobook circulation 51, and fines and fees collected 9575. And they did approve the budget at this past meeting. As far as mainland regional high school, the December students of the month, and one of the nicest things about serving as liaison for the school was the many, they always recognize their students, and they have monthly students at the end of the year, and it's always really nice to see, and I think it means a lot to the students. So for December, it was 9th grade was Pranima Swartha, 10th grade Dylan Ireland, 11th grade Salvatore Cristaldi, another 11th grade student Alexis Shanks, 12th grade Mia Gagliardi, 12th grade Julia Thornton. And teachers all gave them wonderful accolades. Also, there's a presentation by Mr. Kurt Foy. He's the All-State Theater Performances. Apparently, Mainland is going to host the New Jersey Thespians All-State Show. It's like the honor society for the theater, and they will do an extra play, and it's going to be, I don't know when it's going to be scheduled, but they planned it. It's called We Will Rock You. It has to do with Queen, and a little bit about Queen. Mr. Dorsey, Finn also gave a presentation on the state testing results, and these results involve kind of like post-pandemic assessments, where the students stand. Do they need entering 9th grade, or do they need less? Are they like at grade level, or higher than grade level, or grade level or lower? Or do they need more help, less help, or very little help? So it was quite an extensive study that they did, and it gives them a direction on where to go, who needs assistance, and to work with different teams and set up what needs to be done to bring the students up, or to anything that needs to be expanded. Math, of course, algebra was one of the more difficult areas, and of course mathematics can best at times be difficult. So it was a very interesting assessment on the testing about this. It's a little bit unusual, not this long of a testing. And that's all I have. I just wanted to say I came about being here on the series of totally what seemed unrelated events, and that here I was, and it's been an honor to serve the citizens of Northfield. It's been a great learning experience, and I've always taken my vote seriously, and elect and voted for what the people seemed to, that they were looking for the city. And once again, it's been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just like to, I have no committee reports, but I would like to, again, thank you, Barbara, for your time on council and your dedication. Although it was one term, kind of, we all kind of fall short of Frank, but I thank you. And Frank, thank you so much for your hard work.
Thank you.
I just have to say, it does get called a thankless job sometimes, but we all choose to do this. And certainly from, in particular, Frank, because it's been so many years, your dedication and service to the community, it's obvious that you didn't think of it as a thankless job. You didn't treat it that way, and your actions prove it. And as a resident first, I truly appreciate that. I've only been here a little over 30 years, almost as long as you, just about a year or two longer than you've been sitting on this dais.
It went fast, I can say that.
Some nights didn't, but,
It's true.
but thank you again.
Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome. We're moving on to the work session. Is there any update for the pump station design?
As Mr. Rudd said, Mr. Nasser and I appeared before the planning board. We did get a unanimous approval on the subdivision. We anticipate that we'll get the decision and resolution at the January meeting. From that point, we'll publish a notice of decision, which will commence the 45-day appeal period. I would anticipate maybe closing sort of mid-March once that appeal period ends. Rami, I guess we're in the process of doing the county application as well?
I have the county application ready, I'm not sure when it can be subject now or wait till we.
I would say, let's talk tomorrow, but I don't think there's any reason to delay it. Let's get it submitted. And just very quickly, congratulations, Mr. Perry, Ms. Madden. It's been a pleasure working with and for both of you.
Thank you, Chris.
Is there anything back from the state on Northfield
I
Avenue?
responded to her email and sent it back.
Okay. As Councilman Perry mentioned, you have something you'll give them for the sump
Yeah.
pumps?
Yeah, I did something for Kristen and Greg. Greg and I went over it, some recommendations.
Thank you.
Could you make copies of that to send it to me? Thank you.
About the county stormwater issue?
I have a meeting scheduled with the county engineer on Friday, this Friday. I'll see if he has any old information for me. I'll report next week.
Thank you. Is there any updates for the fire truck?
Fire truck, yes. As you all know, Chief Cummings, just under a year ago, came to us and expressed the need for replacing our ladder truck. He has been working, I guess, for the past 6 months or so diligently with his team on putting together some specs for this vehicle. It's not like buying a regular car. It's something that, has a lot of moving parts to it, so it took a little time, and he came up with a spec. He met with finance last week, and looks like he'll have it all ready for our capital in March. If council does vote to approve this vehicle, we probably won't see it until, the summer of 2023, maybe even, into 2024. So, it does add to the life of the old truck, the 25-year life cycle. So, we're pretty close to replacing that vehicle at this point. So, that's where we're at.
Thank you. Moving on to the, everybody refer to your agendas. One item that we do not have in the resolutions, the everyone was emailed the MOA for the government workers. Let's see, it's the blue-collar workers. That'll be Resolution 215-2021. We'll add that to the agenda. Everyone's received it and had an opportunity to review it, and I believe the Labor Council was available and there were no questions. If there are any, we have the information here. This contract will go from, actually, it goes back to January 1st of 2021 with people's schedules and such. It took a lot of back and forth trying to get the meetings completed, and the MOA just came back ratified by the union yesterday afternoon. So that'll be added in as 2/15/2021. I have copies for everyone.
And Mr. Facenda will read it in full, correct?
Okay, approval of the minutes, Councilman Utz, Councilman Deweese. The resolutions, Councilman Perry and Councilman Notaro. Payment of bills, Councilwoman Madden, Councilman Smith. And meeting notices, Councilman Deweese. At this time, we will open the meeting up to the public.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Yes.
President. Is there, I just wanted to bring something else up. We didn't bring up
Oh.
new business.
Yes.
And maybe I should have brought this up earlier. I just had a question from from a member of the public who emailed me, and perhaps I should address this to the chief as well. So I had a resident contact me about stop signs, and they were commenting on the four-way stop sign that was placed at First and Davis, and they reside near First and Jackson, and were inquiring about the possibility of adding a four-way stop sign there due to the traffic concerns. You know, they raised a question. I had an email exchange, and they raised a question about the traffic and how if First and Davis got one, they think that Jackson's a busier street and that people drive down that street as a throughway from the lights, and it has a lot of traffic. So they're just inquiring about the possibility of a four-way stop. So I guess I would throw that on the chief's radar, just to, I don't know if he can address that at some point. And maybe I should have brought it to you personally, but it just came to my, just relatively new to my attention. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Which street was that from?
First and Davis, or
First
First and Jackson, rather, I'm sorry. First and
Yeah.
Jackson.
Councilman Smith, yes, I've had conversations with the chief, and we had since put patrol cars. This has been going on for some time.
Yes.
And as you said, it's straightaway. I don't know what the resolution would be, having a police car there, but we can't have them all the time. Again, I don't even know if a stop sign, that's something that the chief is gonna have to deal with the traffic officer to review that situation. But thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I think we get those requests often, so we'll look in,
Right.
we'll see
Yep.
see if that flow works. Yes.
New business also.
I got it.
I'd like to thank Barbara also for Madden for your service to the community, Barbara.
Any other new business? At this time, we'll open the meeting to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any subject, we ask you that you please state your name and address for the record and observe a 5-minute limit per speaker.
Tom Boyd, 117 Northfield Avenue. As a member of the public, let me reach out and thank Frank on behalf of the public for his years of service. One thing, not that I was in his shop all that often, but once every few months to have a vehicle service, and it always seems he was holding forth a meeting in his office. A member of the public there, discussing an issue, and Frank never said, hey, I need to run my business, if you'll excuse me, I need to, go tend to a vehicle that I have to service. He always would sit and listen, even to me at times, when I would have it right. But at any rate, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
And thank you, Councilman Madden. Couple of things. One was, one of the items on the work session was the potential public auction of the city-owned lot at 611, a memorandum of understanding with Habitat for Humanity. Maybe I missed something. Has there been anything further on that?
No, we reached out to them, and once we have things finalized, so it's still open, but it is still being pursued.
Well, hopefully it'll come to fruition.
And
Yes.
Council President, I did take a look at that MOU that was sent over. I've got some, I guess, some questions and issues to address, so what I guess I'll do is I'll send a quick summary to Mary, and she can distribute it as needed.
Okay.
But I think this was just a sample.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of things that are not applicable in our situation, so I'll get that over to Mary, and we'll get it back to Habitat.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yeah, just,
And lastly, I don't know if any of you saw a recent article in the press, made headlines, about the difficulties that the ACUA is having with respect to manpower. And as
yes.
most of us know here, they've been waiting for the leaves to be collected, we understand that. One thing in that article that sort of struck a nerve with me was that it mentioned that the ACUA may possibly have to consider not renewing collection contracts with some municipalities, and I was just wondering if Northfield's heard anything to that effect.
We're not up for renewal right now.
You're not up for renewal?
No,
When-
no.
yeah, when-
We have a couple more years, so, I mean, hopefully these staffing issues will be
Yeah, well,
rectified by then, and they're,
It's understandable. I
We-
know they're having trouble with CDL licenses, and even people that want to get a CDL license are having trouble getting it.
yeah, they are having issues there, and we have been in constant contact, and they're trying to keep up with the demand.
Okay. Yeah,
And of course, leaves and yard waste are the last thing.
Yeah,
The
okay.
priority is the trash, so we're fortunate there that staffing shortfall isn't leaving a lot of trash laying around. But please, if there are issues, let us keep everyone informed so that we can keep the ACUA informed and we can stay on top of it.
well, again, everybody have a good holiday season, and
Thank you.
next year to everybody.
Yes, thanks for coming out.
Thanks, Mr. Boyd.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Any Zoom?
No.
Seeing no one, the public session is now closed. Do I have a motion to adjourn the work session?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, take a minute and then we'll move right into the regular meeting. Want to do your photo now?
Yes, could we have a photo of the photo of city council?
Good evening. This is the regular session, Northfield City Council, December 14th of 2021. This meeting was properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, in the Press of Atlantic City on January 9th of this year. Based on CDC guidelines related to COVID-19, the City of Northfield has suggested that everyone 2 years or older who is not fully vaccinated should wear a mask in indoor public spaces, and visitors are made aware of this decision with signs at the entrances to the building. To ensure the safety and health of our employees and visitors, we are also continuing to adhere to social distancing requirements in our indoor public spaces. As a result, there are limited seats for in-person attendance by members of the public this evening. In order to ensure that the public may fully participate despite the limited in-person capacity, this meeting is also being presented simultaneously as a remote public meeting live-streamed using Zoom conferencing service. Zoom meeting participants can dial in by telephone and listen to the proceedings, or they can access the meeting using a web browser and be able to view and listen. Instructions on how members of the public could reserve one of the limited seats, as well as how they can access Zoom, have been made available on the municipal website and were published in the Press of Atlantic City. The full text of the meeting notice has been posted at the entrance to the municipal building and includes Zoom instructions, information on where to find the meeting agenda and relevant documents, as well as instructions on how members of the public could submit comments in advance of tonight's meeting. For those participating via Zoom, all participants will be muted upon entry to the meeting. Web browser participants will not be able to share their screens or see the camera view of anyone other than the host, which is the City of Northfield. Zoom participants wishing to exercise their right to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting should wait until the specific announcement is made to open the public comment period. At this time, one by one, any telephone users will be asked to identify themselves and will be unmuted to permit commentary. For web browser participants, comments or questions may be submitted via the chat function, but will not be acknowledged outside of the designated public comment portion of the meeting. Chat users must also provide his or her name and address for the record in order to be heard. Any written comments submitted in advance would be read aloud and addressed during the public comment portion of the meeting, and for this evening, there were none. May I have a flag salute led by Mayor Chow, please?
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today to intent of doing good work. We seek to represent fairly and well those who have given us this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. May we seek to serve with respect to all, and may our personal faith give us strength to act honestly and well in all matters before us. And let us all extend our prayers and hopes for those that were stricken by the tornado in the states of Kentucky and every other state thereafter. And may we also give blessings and thanks to all of our residents and our service people who have given their task to serve our country and to protect our country and give us this right of liberty and freedom. Thank you. Please be seated.
Roll call, Mr. Deweese?
Here.
Mrs. Madden? Here. Mr. Notaro?
Here.
Mr. Perry?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Utz?
Here.
Mr. Palestina?
Here.
Mr. Chow?
Here.
Mr. President?
Thank you. Mayor Chow, committee, your
Oh, sure.
your mayor's report?
Yes, well, first of all, the first thing I would like to announce is our holiday lighting winter contest. We've had 24 applications this year. I mean, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I think all of us will agree, and as I was traveling throughout the city of Northfield, I just couldn't believe how many homes are decorated this year and how elaborate. And it just made Northfield a very cheerful situation. And of course, I have to give, without further ado, the parish of St. Gianna in that magnificent Christmas tree lighting that they have on New Road. Certainly, we could be very proud of that lighting and the event that the church has done every year so far. It's my honor to call the top 10, the Santori residents on Grove Road, DeRosa residents on Jackson Avenue, Garmin Parker residents on Fairbanks Avenue, Noeki residents on Forest Drive, Albert residents on 2nd Street, Simpson on residents on Jackson Avenue, the Shea residents on Burroughs Avenue, the Vineland residents on Ridgewood Drive, the Bambrick residents on Ridgewood Drive also, and Marshall residents on Chestnut Avenue. They were the top 10. And I also want to give a shout out to the many businesses that donated prizes, which I'll be giving out to recognize these individuals in their participation. As I said, this was a magnificent turnout, and I look forward to next year when we can even have more. But it was beautiful, and I'm sure all of us will agree with that. The next item, I just want to report on the Central Court. As you know, the court building in Mays Landing will not be ready because of ventilation installation of parts. But they do anticipate that be up and running by the end of January. In the meantime, our court citations will be viewed through Zoom through a judge that has been assigned at EHT. Any cases that can be held back until the Central Court building gets online will be held back. In the meantime, and also if there are any cases that have to be held immediately, it will be held at EHT. The other municipalities such as Galloway and Hamilton Township will have their own setting, very similar to what is being set up with EHT itself. We are reviewing, unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but as I appointed, the state has now created legislation which states that any central court such as ours will have to hear any state police citations and court cases. This is something that all the cities will we have to add to our load. I forgot how many, it's going to be an increase, but this was not something that we anticipated, but this is something that we have to take into account. I'm also happy to report that our full-time police officer and code enforcement Officer Skull is working well. I've had several meetings and discussions with the chief and with the officer right now, so I think it's going to be a terrific program that we have created, and as I said, it seems to be very successful. One thing I do want to note about the planning board applications, we did have one, but because we had two that evening, one is being held to January, and that is regarding the property that's across from Tilton Market, that's now vacant, and used to be a gas station, I believe it was. And also with regards to the sign ordinance recommendations or proposals, we didn't get to that, but hopefully we'll be able to do that at our next meeting in January. So, and that's my report. Thank you. Oh, one other thing, police report, I'm sorry. Calls responding, we had for this month, the past month, 249 property checks, 994 property checks. And total citations, we had 98, and DWI citations, we had 2. So thank you very much again to our police department, who have been very proactive. And thank you, Chief, for your work. That's the end of my report. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. Approval of minutes?
I'd like to make a motion that we dispense with the reading of the minutes that are available in the clerk's office and approve them as presented.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The engineer's report?
Thank you, Council President. I prepared my report last week and emailed it to council. There's only 2 items on the report. For Bay Avenue, the municipal aid project, the testing came back from the testing company for the asphalt. Everything is in compliance with the design plans and the specifications. We got also approved by DOT. They did a final inspection. Everything is good to go. So now we're working on a final change order so we can close out that project. There's one punch list item has to be finished, but that's basically it on that project. The project will be 100% complete before the end of the year. The second thing is for slip lining. I received a payment request from the contractor. He sent me all the videos for pre and post installation. We still have to finish reviewing them to be sure that everything is 100% before we can authorize any payment on. There's one area which did not fix yet, that along the line, Roosevelt and Tilton, there's a small area needs to be redone. And I'm planning to hold payment until they get it done. So that we'll force
Yeah.
to get this done without, if we make the payment, then they can drag their feet, which I don't want that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Thank you. Any questions for the engineer? Thank you. At this time, we will open the meeting to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any subject, ask that you please state your name and address for the record and observe a 5-minute limit per speaker. Any Zoom members?
Not yet. I just typed it in there. Give them a second. Sometimes there's a delay. Doesn't look like it now.
Okay, seeing none, the public session is now closed. Moving on to resolutions, all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and having been reviewed by council will be enacted by one motion. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any council member, and if so removed, will be treated as one separate matter. Any items requiring expenditures are supported by a certificate of availability of funds. Are there any items, anyone from council wishes to pull from the consent agenda? Okay,
Add 215.
and we're adding 215 as a reminder. Yes.
Resolution 215 of 2021 is a resolution approving a memorandum of agreement between the City of Northfield and the Government Workers Union Local Number 420 for the blue-collar workers effective January 1, 2021 through December 31, 2024, and authorizing the execution of a final agreement consistent with same. Whereas the existing agreement between the City of Northfield, Atlantic County, New Jersey, and Government Workers Union Local Number 420 for blue-collar workers expired December 31, 2020, and whereas negotiations have been ongoing with respect to a new contract, and whereas the parties have agreed to the terms and conditions of a memorandum of agreement to amend the current agreement covering the term January 1, 21 through December 31, 2024, and whereas the GWU has ratified the terms of the memorandum of agreement, and whereas the city has reviewed the terms of the memorandum of agreement during its work session on December 14, 2021, and desires to approve same. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Northfield, County of Atlantic, and State of New Jersey that the terms and conditions of the memorandum of agreement with the Government Workers Union Local Number 420, effective January 1, 2021 through December 31, 2024, are hereby adopted, a copy of said agreement being attached to this resolution. Be it further resolved that the terms of the memorandum of agreement shall be incorporated into a final agreement subject to editing by City Labor Council, which the mayor is hereby authorized to execute on behalf of the City of Northfield. I, Mary Canisi, Municipal Clerk of the City of Northfield, do hereby certify that the foregoing resolution was adopted at a regular meeting of Common Council of the City of Northfield held this 14th day of December 2020.
Thank you. Consent agenda, resolutions?
Make the necessary motion for consent agenda. Approval of consent agenda 202-2021 through 215-2021.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Can I get the necessary motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make the necessary motion to approve resolutions 202-2021 through 215-2021.
Second?
Roll call.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mrs. Madden? Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Utz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for the adoption of the consent agenda.
Payment of the bills?
I would like to make a motion for the payment of bills in the amount of $1,192,909.66.
Second?
Roll call.
Any questions?
Any questions on the bills? Roll call.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mrs. Madden? Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Utz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for payment of bills.
And meeting notices.
Next city council meeting, January 4th, 7 PM, to reorg meeting.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Barbara, don't forget to take the name tag off your, yes, please.
I just spelled your name Deweed. Hi, Craig. What's up? I did. No, it's at reorg. Yeah.
Kind of opened your eyes up.
You're welcome.